We will now like to request for the 3 refuges and 5 precepts, Bhante.
Shall we put our palms together? Please say sadhu 3 times. Please recite Namo Tassa 3 times.
Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa
Buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi.
Buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi.
Dhammaṃ saranang gacchāmi.
Dhammaṃ saranang gacchāmi.
Sanghaṃ saranang gacchāmi.
Sanghaṃ saranang gacchāmi.
Dutiyampi buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi.
Dutiyampi buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi.
Dutiyampi dhammaṃ saranang gacchāmi.
Dutiyampi dhammam saranang gacchāmi.
Dutiyampi sanghaṃ saranang gacchāmi.
Dutiyampi sangham saranang gacchāmi.
Tatiyampi buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi.
Tatiyampi buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi.
Tatiyampi dhammaṃ saranang gacchāmi.
Tatiyampi dhammam saranang gacchāmi.
Tatiyampi sanghaṃ saranang gacchāmi.
Tatiyampi sangham saranang gacchāmi.
Pānātipātā vīramani sikkhapadang samadhiyāmi.
Pānātipāta viramani sikkhapadang samadhiyāmi.
Adhinnādāna vīramani sikkhapadang samadhiyāmi.
Adhinādāna viramani sikkhapadang samadhiyāmi.
Kāmesu miccācārā vīramani sikkhapadang samadhiyāmi.
Kāmesu miccācārā viramani sikkhapadang samadhiyāmi.
Musāvādā vīramani sikkhapadang samadhiyāmi.
Musāvādā viramani sikkhapadang samadhiyāmi.
Surāmeraya majjapamādaṭṭhānā vīramani sikkhapadang samadhiyāmi.
Surameraya majjapamādaṭṭhānā viramani sikkhapadang samadhiyāmi.
Please say sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. We would now like to invite Bhante to guide us in a meditation session, Bhante.
Okay, friends, before we begin our talk, let's spend some time to calm down ourselves. Let's practice mindfulness on breath meditation for a while. You may sit in a comfortable sitting position. Keep back of your right palm on the top of the left palm. You may close your eyes or half close them. Let your body relax. Let yourself breathe in and out naturally. While breathing naturally, pay attention to your own breath. Whenever your mind runs away, bring your mind back to the attention again and again. Mindfully breathe in, mindfully breathe out. Pāpassa akaranang kusalassa upasampada sacitta pariyodapanang etang buddhana sasanang. To refrain from all evil, to cultivate the good, to purify one's mind. This is the teachings of all the Buddhas. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Good morning, Dhamma friends. To begin this talk, let me ask you a simple question. If you were to suddenly lose all your money, all of your saving, and fall deeply into debt, how would you feel? For most of us, the thought itself brings a chill. Financial bankruptcy can cause deep anxiety, depression, shame, helplessness, and many more suffering. But what if there is even more serious issue than the financial bankruptcy? In fact, the Buddha says there is such a terrible issue, which of course the Buddha called poverty and debt of the spiritual kind. In Inner Sutta, Buddha talks about a poor, destitute, miserable human being who get into financial crisis, and then the Buddha draw the parallel between this human being and the one who lack spiritual wealth. And then he went on to explain how a spiritually poor, destitute person also get into miseries and sufferings because of his lack of spiritual wealth. Imagine a man or a woman who doesn't have money, doesn't have any property, no stable job, poor, destitute, indigent. And one day he borrows a little bit of money to support himself. At the beginning it was manageable, but as months goes by, the debt grows, and to cover up his old debt, he borrow more money. Eventually, the interest piled up. When he is unable to pay the interest, the creditors will come to his door and knock at his door. First, politely asking money. Afterwards, by threatening with harsh words. And if he still cannot pay back the interest and the debt, then he will be brought to the court and eventually put behind the bars. Have you heard about the people who borrowed money from loan sharks? I believe many of you have heard such stories. There were such stories in Straits Times and other medias reported. And when they cannot pay back the debt and interest, these loan sharks will come, knock your door, pressure you, harass you, threaten you, and sometimes go to the extent to do nasty things. So the Buddha says, similarly, when someone is spiritually poor, this person will go on to in debt spiritually and then go to spiritual bankruptcy. So let's understand what Buddha means in this sutta. What is spiritual bankruptcy? But first of all, we need to understand who is a spiritually poor person. The Buddha says that there are these 5 marks of a spiritually poor person. Yassa kassaci saddhanatti kusalesu dhammesu hiri natti kusalesu dhammesu ottappang natti kusalesu dhammesu viriyang natti kusalesu dhammesu panya natti kusalesu dhammesu ayang vicchati bhikkhave ariyassa vinaye daliddo analhiko. If someone doesn't have faith in wholesome actions, if that person is lack of moral shame and moral fear, if that person doesn't have energy to do wholesome actions, if that person is lack of wisdom to differentiate and understand the wholesome action, such a person is known as a poor, destitute, indigent person in the teachings of the Buddha. Now let's understand these 5 qualities. So the first quality is Yassa kassaci saddha natti kusalesu dhammesu. The term kusalesu dhammesu is a very important term here. It means skillful actions, wholesome actions. So this human being, he doesn't have saddha. Saddha here means faith. He doesn't believe in wholesome actions. He doesn't have faith in wholesome actions. He simply do not believe that karma exists. Because of his lack of faith in good actions, wholesome actions, he will not do good actions because simply he doesn't believe in it. So the kusalesu dhammesu, the skillful, wholesome actions, here means those actions which are socially beneficial, spiritually rewarding, uplifting, karmically productive of bringing favorable results. And these are the wholesome actions rooted in great understanding, compassion, goodwill, friendship, generosity, and other marvelous qualities. Merit is another term for these actions. So when someone doesn't have faith in these actions, when someone doesn't have confidence in doing these actions, when someone doesn't think that these actions can bring any good results, and when someone upholds purely a materialistic view, and when someone is purely motivated by self-centered, blind desire only, and this person has the first mark of a spiritually poor person. He simply doesn't have the ability to understand the karma, and he doesn't believe in it. Second mark of a spiritually poor person is 𝐳𝒐𝒊𝒅 hirinatti kusalesu dhammesu. And this person doesn't have moral shame. He can do any kind of evil, wicked, immoral, unwholesome actions to achieve his goal. Whatsoever goal that he is having, motivated by self-centered, blind desire, to achieve that goal, he will do anything and everything. He doesn't have any moral shame. So the moral shame can be two types. One is a social shame. And when a person wants to do something wrong, something unwholesome, something not worth to be done, something is considered as immoral, unethical, this person might have shame towards the society. What will happen if my wife find out? What will happen if my husband find out? What will happen if my children come to know about it? What will happen my friends, relatives, society come to know about it? Where can I hide my face? Because of this social shame, that person might refrain doing very evil thing, unwholesome thing, unethical thing, and refrain. On the other hand, the moral shame can be more profound, more deeply rooted in the mind. Those human beings who are more cultured and more civilized and more developed spiritual sense of the word, thinking that it is not worth for a human being like myself who understand this precious Dhamma, who uphold righteous principles, to do such kind of unwholesome actions. I feel shame myself to do that action. I cannot bring myself to downward. I cannot bring myself to such a level to do this action. Then thinking that, feeling shame, he or she will refrain doing unwholesome actions. Now, when someone has only one type of moral shame, which is a shame related to the society, and as long as he or she can hide it, that person will still do evil. But if someone has the moral shame within oneself, thinking that it is shameful for a person like myself to do this kind of action, I should not bring myself downward, a person who has such a shame and will refrain from evil even in the secret. So friends, the second type of moral shame is more profound and according to the Dhamma and encouraged by the Buddha. So spiritually poor person doesn't have the moral shame of either kind. Therefore, he is able to do any kind of unwholesome actions. Third mark of a spiritually poor person is 𝐵𝒂𝒐𝒊𝒅 natti kusalesu dhammesu. He doesn't have moral fear, moral dread to do evil. So people also will refrain doing evil because of fear. And this can be many ways. Perhaps you might refrain from doing an evil, unethical action because you have fear towards the society, thinking that what will happen if my wife, my husband, children, my friends were to find out. So you have fear. So because of social fear, you might refrain doing something unwholesome. Or you might have fear towards the law and order of the country. What will happen if the police were to find out? What will happen if I were to be behind the bars, in jails? So because of fear towards the law and order, someone might refrain doing evil, immoral, unwholesome actions. Or someone might have fear towards falling down spiritually. I have cultivated so well, I have practiced so well. Now if I were to do these kind of unwholesome actions, I'm going downward spiritually. So this person might refrain from doing such actions because of fear of bringing oneself downward spiritually. Or that person might have fear towards the karma, thinking that if I were to do these evil actions, after the death, I'll be born in lower realms. I will have to pay for it. So the karmic retribution is a deterrent factor here. So the moral fear has the four dimensions: social fear, and fear towards the law and order, and fear because you might go downward spiritually, and fear of karmic retribution. So a human being who has only these first two types of fear, which is fear towards the society and law and order, can still do evil in secret. But a person who has the fear of falling down spiritually and karmic retribution will not do evil even in the secret. So among these two categories, the second two aspects are more sublime, more important in the teachings of the Buddha. The fourth mark of a spiritually poor person is yassa kassaci viriyang natti kusalesu dhammesu. And this person does not have energy to do wholesome actions. When that person doesn't believe in wholesome actions, and when that person doesn't have moral shame, moral fear, that person naturally doesn't have any energy to do good action. In the first place, you do not believe in good. Therefore, you do not feel a need to do good. So you will not have energy to do good actions. You think that it is wasting of your time. What is the point of going to the temple? What's the point of listening to a talk? What's the point of doing these charitable actions? He will always find ways and means to neglect it, not to do it. And will go to the extent even to criticize those people who do such actions. You're wasting your time. So this person not only doesn't have energy to do good, but also has kind of aversion towards it, because this person wants to justify his way of thinking, way of behavior. So he doesn't have energy to do good. To do good, you need a lot of vigor, a lot of energy. To keep up a wholesome behavior, you need to battle against your defilements. So it's not an easy path. It's not an easy way. You need to have a lot of vigor, a lot of energy. So a spiritually poor person doesn't have such kind of vigor, such kind of energy to start with. So he is lack of energy to do wholesome actions. The fifth mark of spiritually poor person is yassa kassaci paññā natti kusalesu dhammesu. Someone who doesn't have wisdom, understanding in regards to wholesome qualities, wholesome actions. So simply this human being doesn't have ability to differentiate good and bad actions. Simply because in the first place he doesn't believe in good. Therefore since he is motivated by self-centered blind craving and simply doesn't believe in good and bad. So because of that, he also doesn't have the skills, abilities to differentiate what is good, what is bad. And because of these 5 qualities, this person is recognized as a spiritually poor person. What are the 5 qualities, 5 marks of a spiritually poor person? Number 1, forgot. He doesn't have faith in good actions. Number 2, doesn't have moral shame. Number 3, doesn't have moral fear. Number 4, doesn't have energy, vigor. And number 5, doesn't have wisdom. So this person who doesn't have faith, moral shame, moral fear, energy and wisdom is known as spiritually poor person in the teachings of the Buddha. Are you a spiritually poor person? No. If you are a spiritually poor person, you will not be here today. You all are having spiritual wealth. You are not spiritually poor. You have these spiritual potentials. You have these 5 spiritual marks, the qualities of a spiritually rich person. But to what extent are you rich? Depends on your own practice. Now, as the Buddha pointed out, when someone has these 5 marks, he is a spiritually poor person. Because of these 5 qualities, he started to do evil, wicked, immoral, unwholesome actions. A person who has these 5 qualities tend to do unethical, immoral, unwholesome actions. So when that person is doing these evil, wicked, immoral actions, it is like he is borrowing. He is borrowing, getting into debt. Why it is called it is getting into debt? It's for a simple reason. We as a human being has a lot of merits. We are born to be humans from the Buddhist perspective because of our past wholesome karmic forces. 𝑗𝒆𝒐𝒊𝒅, we have done merits in the past. Now, being born as a human being, because of our past karmic formations, and if you do not understand and make any effort to do more good and cultivate further on the path of the Buddha, and then instead if you are doing evil, wicked, immoral actions, you are borrowing spiritually. Means you are getting into debt. It doesn't happen all of a sudden, but little by little, little by little, when you neglect the wholesome actions, when you start doing unwholesome actions, bit by bit, all these will be accumulated. So you are getting into spiritual debt. Now when you do evil actions, and then you are also likely to cover them up because you do not want other people to know about it. So you will have wishes. No one will know these evil actions. Only I know this. So you are trying to justify it, your actions. You will try to come out with your own stories. You will try to hide these actions, covering up. This is like paying interests. Do you remember that having told a lie, and then to cover up that first lie, you had to say another lie, a second one? So this is like paying interest. To cover up your unwholesome actions, and you have to put up a different face. You need to make effort to cover it up, keep on hiding it. So this is like paying interests. While you are doing it, and there might be occasions that society come to know about it. Your husband, your children, your friends, relatives, they will sooner or later come to know that your unwholesome actions, your wrongdoings. And then the pressure build up, social pressure build up. So this pressure is like the creditors come to your door and knock at your door. So Buddha compared this as a creditor is knocking at your door. So you feel pressure, stress, tense up. And now, in the society, when you face this kind of situation, and you are the creditors knocking your door. But that doesn't stop there. And you will feel remorse. You will feel regrets over your unwholesome actions. Even when you are all alone in seclusion, you will feel remorse, guilt. And this is like the creditors are following you everywhere. Even when you are all alone, these creditors will not leave you. Wherever you go, they will follow you and ask you to pay it up. Similarly, when you are having this remorse, guilt, even when you are all alone in your room, you cannot have peace. You cannot sleep peacefully because the guilt and remorse come up. Have you noticed, after doing something bad, trying to do meditation, if you have such experience, of course I'm not referring to evil, wicked, immoral kind of actions, but even some simple wrongdoings, and can you see that your mind is started to talk louder and tell you that, you know, how bad you are, kind of loud noise arise within you? It's like that. So the Buddha pointed out, 𝐻𝐷𝐻𝑒𝒐𝒊𝒅 𝐵𝒂𝒏𝒃 tappati ubhayatta tappati papam me katanti tappati bhiyo tappati dukkhatin gato. When you engage in evil, wicked, immoral, unwholesome types of actions through your thoughts, words, and physical behavior, guilt and remorse arise. Here and now, you cannot have peace. After the death, you will also have the remorse, and being born in lower realm, you will suffer more. Now, the Buddha says, such a human being, spiritually poor and get into spiritual debt and paying interest and pressed by the creditors, harassed by the creditors in the spiritual sense of the word. When he die here and now, after the death, he will appear in the lower realm. This is like throwing him into the prison. And the Buddha said that the prison of a lower realm is more harsher and more cruel, because once you are born in lower realm, it's so difficult for you to regain the human status. In Bala Pandita Sutta, Buddha elaborates this point. So once you are born in lower realms, and it is hard for you to be reborn among the humans, it will take long time for you to overcome such a prison and release from such a prison. So in Inner Sutta, Buddha talks about how a poor human being materially and get into financial crisis and undergo pain and suffering. And the Buddha also talks about a spiritually poor person who get into spiritually debtness and indebtedness, and then paying interest, harassed and by his own conscientiousness, and then eventually be born in lower realm and become a prisoner of the lower realms. So should we allow this to happen? Definitely not. So how can we avoid spiritual bankruptcy? The answer should be very clear now. It means that we have to strengthen these 5 spiritual the qualities. It means we must have these 5 qualities. What are these? We must have faith in wholesome qualities. We must have moral shame, moral dread, and energy to do good, and then wisdom to recognize. So now, when it comes to the first quality, saddha. Saddha here does not mean blind faith. Saddha here means rational faith. There are 2 types of saddha in the Buddha's teaching. One is known as amulika saddha, blind faith. Blind faith is not encouraged by the Buddha. Buddha encouraged another kind of faith, and that is called akaravati saddha, rational faith. It means having analyzed, scrutinized, questioned the Dhamma, and you come to a kind of confidence, understand based on understanding. You build up your faith based on Dhamma understanding. And this is the faith encouraged by the Buddha. So the faith is essential. It is like the seed. So Buddha says, Saddha 𝐵𝑗𝒗 𝒊𝒂𝑠ℎ𝑖𝑝. Faith is like a seed. But the practice is like the rain. For a seed to sprout out to a plant and become a huge tree and give fruits and flowers, it needs a lot of conditions. Among these conditions, the rain is one of the most. So, faith will not become strong unless you practice. So when you understand the Dhamma, faith arises in the triple gems. And when you practice the Dhamma, faith becomes stronger. So faith is extremely important. As long as you have faith in the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha, you are well rooted in the triple gems. You are anchored in the triple gems. You tend to follow the triple gems. So when you recite the virtue of the Buddha, virtue of the Dhamma, virtue of the Sangha, which you did a while ago, when you do it with mindfulness, with concentration, with understanding, and your faith in the triple gem becomes stronger, you tend to follow the triple gems. When you have faith in wholesome qualities, and you tend to do good, be good, because you understand the karma. Saddhaya tarati ogang. By faith, one can cross the flood of defilements. Here the faith again is the most basic. With this confidence, with this faith, you started to practice the path of the Buddha and eventually can go beyond the defilements. So when you have saddha, you are spiritually rich. Second, moral shame. Have a sense of moral shame. In this case, a shame arises within you to think that for a Dhamma practitioner like myself who understands the Buddha's teaching, it is not fitting for me to do this unwholesome action. I should feel shame of having these evil thoughts. I should feel shame to spoken harshly. I should feel shame for doing that action. So have a sense of shame. This will keep you on the track. When you have moral shame, you are rich spiritually. Have a moral dread, fear. As a Dhamma practitioner who follow the path of the Buddha, I should not do this action because it will bring me downward spiritually. As someone who understands the karmic theory, I must have compassion for myself. Why should I let myself to be born in lower realm? Should have moral fear towards evil and refrain doing it. As the Buddha pointed out in Metta Sutta, even slightest wrong to do such an action, we must have moral shame, moral fear. Nacha kuddang samachare kinchi yena 𝑣𝑢𝑝are upawadeyo. We should have moral shame and fear to do even the slightest wrong thing. This will keep you on the track, on the Noble Eightfold Path. So when you have moral dread, moral fear, you are spiritually rich. And you must have vigor, energy. The moment that you have faith in the triple gems, the moment you have faith in good, energy will flow. Energy will flow, and you will look for wholesome actions. You will try to do good actions wherever possible. You will not waste your time because you have this spiritual energy filling your body and mind, and you move forward looking for the opportunities to cultivate further. So when you have vigor, energy, which flows naturally for those people who have faith, this is a spiritual wealth. You are rich spiritually. And when you have wisdom, Buddha's teaching make you wiser, intelligent. When you understand the teachings, you understand that everything is impermanent, transient. This understanding will give you some degree of wisdom to look at the world with detached attitudes. So this will help you to keep away from self-centered blindness and see things objectively, and you can react with wisdom. So when you practice the teachings of the Buddha and understand them and practice in daily basis, you will develop your wisdom, understanding, and you will know what is good and bad. You have kammassa kata sammaditthi. You will have clear and precise understanding of the actions, karmic theory. And you will be more conscious and mindful of what you are doing. So friends, when you have faith in the triple gems, faith in wholesome actions, when you have moral shame and moral fear, and when you have energy and wisdom, you are spiritually rich. Now, for the lay Buddhist followers, the Buddha says that you have to be rich in both ways. You cannot neglect either way. What are these both ways? You have to be rich materially, and you have to be rich spiritually. Buddha never glorified the poverty. Do you know that? Buddha never glorified poverty. In Inner Sutta, at very beginning, you can see these words. Dalidyang bhikkhave dukkhang kama bhogino lokasmin. Monks, poverty is miserable. Poverty is miserable for those who wish to enjoy sensual pleasure. There are many discourses where Buddha encouraged his lay followers to become super rich. However, in a wholesome way, in a lawful way. So, Buddha never glorified the poverty. Remember this. This is a misunderstood point. Poverty is only for the monks and nuns, not for lay people. Monks are supposed to be very satisfied with whatever robes, whatever food, whatever lodgings, whatever medicines. But not lay people. Lay people, you are encouraged to achieve wealth, but in a righteous way, lawful way. So, friends, the Buddha encouraged for lay Buddhist followers to achieve wealth. In Anana Sutta, he talks about 4 types of happiness. First happiness is known as Attisukha. Having wealth is happiness. Bhogasukha, not only having wealth, enjoying your wealth, sensual gratification is happiness. Anana Sukha, when you are not indebted to any bank, any financial institutes, to anyone, to any degree. This is called happiness of debt-free life. Then the 4th one is anavajja sukha, happiness of blameless life. Here the blameless life comes if you earn your wealth only in a righteous way, lawful way, without damaging, without destroying this planet, other living beings and living things. Make your money. But they encourage you to achieve wealth in such a way. There is a sutta known as Andha Sutta. Before I end up this talk, 5 more minutes. In Andha Sutta, the Buddha talks about 3 types of people. First of them is a blind man. And Buddha said, monks, this man is blind. He doesn't know how to achieve wealth. He doesn't know how to make money. And he doesn't know how to grow his money. And he also doesn't know how to achieve spiritual wealth. He doesn't know how to cultivate his spiritual faculties. This man is a blind one. He doesn't have wisdom. He doesn't have vision. So this is a human being who doesn't know how to achieve either material wealth or spiritual wealth. He's a blind man. Then the Buddha talked about one-eyed man. He said, this man has got only one eye. And he knows how to make money. He knows how to grow money. But he has only one eye. This is the material wealth. And he knows how to become rich, affluent, materially only. And he doesn't have the other eye. And then the Buddha said there's a third one who has 2 eyes, perfect. And this is the man who knows how to make money, grow money materially, and he also knows how to achieve spiritual wealth and become rich spiritually. So friends, like a bird needs 2 wings to fly, we need to have both spiritual and material wealth. So not only we should avoid spiritual bankruptcy, we also must avoid financial bankruptcy. Both. Okay.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, thank you, Bhante, for teaching us about the importance of wealth, as we all know. So let's open up to the floor for questions. Any questions from the floor?
Hi Bhante, thank you for the talk. I just wanted to ask, regarding unwholesome actions, what if when we are angry, we have unwholesome thoughts, but we think about it and then we don't let it go into action? Is that considered being spiritually poor?
This is called spiritually advanced. Most of the time what will happen when we are angry, we are carried away by our angry thoughts. We are carried away by our anger. A person who is angry is blind. But when you are angry, if you are mindful of your emotions, in the teachings of the Buddha, this is a spiritual development. Because mindfulness is the key to enlightenment. And you need to be mindful of your feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and whatever happens within your body-mind complex. So at the moment when you are very, very angry, and if you can observe your angry feelings, emotions, and if you can see them in the light of impermanent transient nature, if you can see the danger of these angry thoughts, what will happen if I were to exercise these angry thoughts through my speech and actions, and if you can contemplate in that way, you are wise, you are following the Dhamma. So this is spiritually advanced stage. We all have to achieve such kind of situations. We never, as long as we are not fully enlightened, we cannot escape negative thoughts. Negative, destructive, unwholesome thoughts may arise, but be mindful of them. When you are mindful of them, and you will prevent them manifesting further. And this is a practice, goes along with the Noble Eightfold Path.
Any other questions from the floor?
Did I answer your question? Oh, okay.
So if there are no questions, I would like to ask a question, Bhante. I think earlier on you said as lay people, we need to balance the financial wealth and also spiritual wealth. A lot of times I think we struggle to keep that balance. For instance, if I have time, do I take that time to volunteer here? Or do I take that time to go make more money? Right? So how do you balance that line there? Would you have any suggestion for us?
Practice like a layperson. Don't try to be a monk or nun. This is the simple advice. There are many discourses throughout the Tipitaka, but not all the discourses are suitable for lay people. Not all the discourses are addressed directly to lay people. There are some discourses specifically for the monastics. There are discourses specifically for the lay people. The Buddha has given clear teachings for both lay disciples and the monastic disciples. Even though the Noble Eightfold Path is the same path that we need to follow, we practice it at slightly different levels. So being lay people, do not try to imitate monks and nuns. And you have your family, you have your wife, you have your husband, you have your children, parents, you have a lot of obligations, social, political, economic, and you need to put up with all these. So your first priority is a material achievements and success in the society as a human being. But don't neglect spiritual cultivation as well. So keeping a balance here, of course, is not ideally 50-50, but if cannot, give more priority for the material achievement, but not neglecting your spiritual achievement. Look at the examples of the Tipitaka. Like, for example, millionaire lady Vishaka. She is a businesswoman. And of course, she did her business, became so rich whenever possible. When there's chance, she went to see the Buddha, did a lot of wholesome activities. Look at Anathapindika, another millionaire. And look at these lay people. Some of these lay people, they are very rich, very powerful in the society. They function very well. At the same time, they also practice the Dhamma. But of course, they practice as lay people. They do not practice as monks. So they observe 5 precepts. Observe 5 precepts, and in retreats, once in a while when you go to the retreat, observe 8 precepts. In daily life, don't try to observe 8 precepts. And if you are going to observe the 8 precepts in daily life, your husband or your wife will kick you out. Go to the temple then. Correct. It's not practical. You need to be practical. So of course, keeping a balance. Again, there is no standard level of advice for this. This also depends on the individuals. You need to find your balance. Having said so, in the time of the Buddha, there were also lay people who practice almost like monks and nuns. This is individual preference. So generally speaking, lay people, they give more priority for their material aspect, and they are gradually following the path of the Buddha to achieve enlightenment in time to come. Their journey is longer, and they wish to be born again and again in the cycle of existence. So Buddha encouraged them to cultivate the spiritual path so that they can be born in pleasurable, favorable realms, such as humans or divine, so that they can cultivate further. So the lay people, the first priority is material achievement without neglecting the spiritual. But the monks and nuns, their first priority is spiritual achievements, and they do not give much priority for the material. They are satisfied with most basics. So I think keeping a balance is individual preference as well, even though we have this general advice.
Thank you. Okay, we have a questions from the back.
Bhante, my name is Jimmy Tan. I have moved from Penang to JB and I live alone. And for many years I think I'm very lucky because I have all the conditions, like as though I'm in a retreat, private time. So I find that I'm very lucky in the fact that what I do is in the morning, upon waking up 5 to 6 o'clock, I play the Dhamma chanting, daily chanting by Bhante in Rathanasa. It's about 25 minutes. Not because I want to bless the house or anything but I feel good starting a day with good chanting. And the only thing I do is I cook, I go marketing, but I feel that I have a whole collection of Dhamma talks. I feel that as though I'm in a retreat for a long time, daily Dhamma talk, and sometimes I indulge in my hobbies, photography, and I'm taking up painting. So sometimes when I look at people, they go for a retreat. So sometimes I wonder whether I've had enough or not. Leaving my house, like I'm in a temple, alone, with Dhamma talks and all the things I would do when I go for a retreat. So I don't know whether I do miss out anything or not by not going for a retreat, which is actually Dhamma talks, meditation, solitude, exactly what I'm doing at the moment on a daily basis for months, for years, and I think many more years to come. So my question is, do I really need to travel very far to go for retreat, which is exactly more or less what I'm doing now? And that's my question.
Okay. By the way, have you been in a retreat?
Yes, in fact, I spent many weeks in Sri Lanka.
Okay, if you...
Many months in Javanese. And I also Kapiya follow a monk to Thailand, all round, as is Kapiya, and I've also done the Pinabat with one monk for many months. So
Okay, so if you have been in retreats and have got the basic practical understanding inside, of course you can practice all alone at home. So there's nothing wrong of it. But some people might find to get into a spiritual gathering like a retreat is more encouraging, spiritually rewarding. So if anyone feel like that, you can join in that way. So there's nothing wrong that you are practicing at home all alone.
thank you.
or just come Buddhist fellowship. Sorry, I have one more question in the back. I'll go to the front.
Thank you, Bhante. If you, as a human being and like as a lay practitioner, has maybe like this gentleman enough from a financial perspective, then what does a path look like if you want to really lean into the spiritual wealth, maybe absent monastic life?
Can you repeat the questions? I did not understand.
Yeah. As a lay practitioner, if you've come to a place of having enough financial means to not work or, take care of your household, and you want to now invest more heavily in your spiritual wealth, what does that life or path look like without, say, taking ordination?
Yeah, so even though you are not a monastic, and as a layperson, when you are living all alone at home, and you are financially well protected, well supported, and you dedicate your time for spiritual cultivation, so you are practicing the path of the Buddha to attain enlightenment. So there are lay people who attain different level of spiritual cultivation. Every human being practice the path, and we have our own spiritual journey. So there are monks and nuns who are in the different level of spiritual achievements. There are also lay people who are in different levels of spiritual achievements. So it does not matter whether we wear a robe or shave off our hair, as long as we have the dedication to practice, and we all can develop spiritual faculties. However, each and every human being may have his or her own spiritual journey, own learning curve. So not everyone is same. And we also must get together as spiritual communities such as this, so we can share the information, share our experiences, encourage each other. So there's nothing wrong that you stay at home and practice diligently. Many people find being secluded and practicing is so rewarding. But if anyone feel like going to spiritual community is also helpful, why not? That's also encouraged. And we all, when we practice the path of the Buddha, we develop our spiritual faculties. Saddha, Virya, Sati, Samadhi, Panya, these qualities we cultivate. So everyone cultivate these qualities in a different level.
And we have a question at the front.
Bhante, I have one question. You talk about observing sila. So I just want, my question actually is, if I didn't carry out, but maybe I have that unwholesome thought, if I carry out, I will break the 5 precepts. So if I don't carry out, does it mean actually I did not break the precepts? Does it mean actually there's no any karmic consequences? Yeah, maybe actually example, we got 5 precepts. For example, stealing, or maybe even actually sexual misconduct, You didn't do it, but you had the thought, So does it constitute breaking the precepts? And what's the karmic consequence? Thanks.
No, it does not break the precept in that way. To break the precepts, there are necessary conditions. It has to fulfill certain conditions. For example, killing a living being. For example, you must have awareness that it is a living being. You must have intention to kill that living being. You must use your mechanism to kill that living being. As a consequence of your actions, that living being should be dead. So similar to that, so to break a precept, there are all these conditions. Just because you had the thoughts of killing, it does not mean you break the precepts. Correct? So so similarly, just because these unwholesome thoughts arise in the mind does not mean you break the precept. However, when these unwholesome thoughts arise, If you increase them, live on them, and you are producing a degree of karmic force within your mind. For example, you harbor anger, hatred, ill will towards someone, constantly thinking of killing that person, planning to kill, but don't kill. But by this process, you are accumulating negative, destructive, unwholesome thoughts in your mind. So to that extent, you are producing the karmic force. But then if you are expressing these thoughts, with somebody else, expressing that you want to kill and speak harshly, violently, then these negative forces will be increased some more. And then of course, if you exercise it through your physical action, that increase some more. So of course, the idea here is to what extent we invest our energy in these unwholesome thoughts. Unwholesome thoughts arise, so the Buddha encouraged when these unwholesome thoughts arise, notice them, observe them, and think of their danger and try to get rid of them. So this is the practice. However, without doing that, if you let these unwholesome thoughts to grow in your system and provide the fuel to them to grow more and more and more, and you are producing negative karmic forces within you, tendency to be a criminal.
Thank you, Bhante, for your talk. I would like to ask you, we all think that we have all the spiritual qualities, but there are times when there are people who say things, they mock you, they insult you, and when you tell them, what they do is that they say it's not their fault. You are the one. You are being too sensitive. I'm only joking. So the listener becomes even more hurt. So how do you tell these people and help them to correct their unwholesome speech?
Even the Buddha could not transform everyone. Who are we? So, first of all, we should try ourselves to understand these precious teachings and put them into practice. Secondly, we also should try to encourage the others to understand and practice. However, when it comes to the second aspect of encouraging other people to understand the Dhamma and practice, we all have limitations. You can only encourage them. You cannot practice behalf of them. We cannot correct every human being. So you have to accept it and let go. But don't stop your Dhamma practice. So I think this is the best we can do. So sometimes, even though we have compassion, understanding, and sincere wish that others will get into the right view, right understanding, and follow the path, and we may not be able to achieve it in all cases. So just give a try. But when you give a try, don't get disappointed. And if you fail, so accept it and move on.
So we have one last question from online, Bhante.
Yeah. The question is, Bhante, is it wrong to take action against someone who wronged us? Would it be considered spiritually poor? What? Sorry? Repeat. Is it wrong to take action against someone who wronged us? Would it be considered spiritually poor?
I think this has got different aspects. To what extent that person is doing the wrong thing to you. Of course, in the Buddha's teaching, we encourage forgiving, letting go, and giving the opportunity to the other person to reform. So while encouraging these wholesome aspects of forgiving, letting go, and all this, but of course, it does not mean that you had to passively be a victim of unwholesome action of the other people. It does. We encourage tolerance, understanding, compassion, and all the great qualities. However, when it comes to these qualities, we must exercise them with wisdom. We always must exercise virtue with wisdom. If you do not exercise virtue with wisdom, others might take you as a weak human being and take advantage of you. For example, when it comes to tolerance, there is a passive tolerance and active tolerance. Passive tolerance is a situation where someone is harassing you, doing something wrong, but you are helpless. And because of fear, because you are helpless, you tolerate. But this is not the tolerance that we encourage in the teachings of the Buddha. This is suffering. This is suffering. We don't encourage suffering. But active tolerance is something more than that. A person who has active tolerance is more stronger. I tolerate you because I'm stronger than you. I can tolerate your nonsense because I can take it. I'm more stronger than you. You might insult me, but I'm stronger. I can still react to you politely because I'm stronger than you. So this is active tolerance. So of course, as Dhamma practitioners, we should try to be stronger in our spiritual cultivation. Nevertheless, we must exercise virtue with wisdom. And there might be occasions, of course, when you come to a point and if you cannot tolerate the wrongdoings of the other person, if it is harmful, and of course, without you yourself doing the same mistake, you can look for solutions through other means. In a law-abiding society, we have law and order. We have various ways to tackle the issues without relying on the violence or negative ways. So of course, when someone is doing something wrong to you, and you can try to correct that person and come to discussions and try to understand it, settle the issues with wisdom, tolerance and understanding, and when it is failed, you can look for other ways and means to settle the issues. You do not have to be a victim.
Thank you, Bhante. Let's say sadhu for the fantastic talk. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So now Bhante would like to request that you lead us in dedication of merits and also request for blessing.
Okay, friends, shall we put our palms together? Be happy and joyful. Today also we came to the Buddhist fellowship. We paid our homage to the triple gems, made our offerings, we practiced meditation, we also listened to a Dhamma sermon. The merits that we acquired through these wholesome actions be upon the good devas. May the good devas rejoice over these merits. Having shared these merits, may the devas protect you, protect your loved ones, protect the dispensation of the Buddha. May the devas attain bliss of Nibbana.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Let's also be grateful to our departed ancestors. Today, whatever social and economic conditions that we are enjoying is partly due to the dedication and sacrifices of our departed ancestors. So our departed relatives, friends, ancestors, wherever they are, may they all share these merits. Having shared these merits, may they be free from worries and sufferings. Be well, be happy. May all our departed loved ones attain bliss of Nibbana.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
May the great blessings of the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha be upon each and every one of you here, as well as your relatives and friends. May everyone be well. May everyone be happy. May the Dhamma spread far and wide in this world for the well-being and happiness of many. May the Dhamma shine forth brightly and brilliantly so that those with little dust in their eyes will see the light and follow the path. May these merits be helpful for all of us to refrain from the evil, to cultivate the good, to follow the noble path of the Buddha and attain bliss of Nibbana.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you, Bhante. Let's pay 3 respects to Bhante first. Oh, to the Buddha first. And then let's pay respect to Bhante. First bow.
Sappitiyo vivajjantu
Second bow.
sabbarogo vinasatu mati bhavattvantarayo sukhi dīghāyuko bhava. May you all be well and happy.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Now let us invite Bhante out of the hall. Let's put ourselves in Anjali. Thank you, Bhante. Okay, so I'll run through some announcements, and actually I think some of these announcements are really helpful to some of the questions being raised about how to practice, what are the activities that you can come join us on site. And as you can see, some people online, when you're here with us, you can laugh together, have a chat, have food together. So let me share more of the activities that we have here before we close for the day. Next Sunday, our Sunday talk starts at 10:30.